You're late. Sit down. We've got less than an hour, Josh. Greg needs us by 10 and Lewis is waiting for us.
Yeah, I know. I'm just finishing this text.
Focus, Josh. We don't have time for your text right now.
Fine, I'm focusing. What are we working on?
We need to break this down quickly. Lewis needs the core material for the voiceovers. No more distractions.
Alright, we'll keep it simple then. Just the key points for each segment. Nothing extra. I should give Lewis enough to work with.
We need to get this done or Greg's gonna lose it.
We'll get it done. Just give me a minute.
Lewis needs this before 10. Stop second guessing yourself and start writing.
I'm doing it. Just hold on. We'll send it in time.
5 minutes later.
Done, finally.
Finally, that was too close.
I'm gonna send it.
Do it.
Done.
About damn time. Britain. Have you ever looked around Britain and asked yourself, why is this here? Why do we speak the way we do? Why is tea such a big part of our culture? Why are there curry houses on the street? Tropical fruits in our supermarkets, architecture from the other side of the world. Much of what we take granted for today in Britain can be traced back to one simple thing, the history of the British Empire. But what if it never happened? This is, what if the British Empire never colonised the world? Let's break it down. The world, our lives, so let's start with food. Our national dish? Chicken tikka masala, a blend of Indian spices and British tastes. Without colonial contact, this wouldn't exist. Much of the cuisine we enjoy today, Indian spices, Caribbean jerk, African stews, might have remained very, very distant. And perhaps our national dish might have been a simple pie and mash. But now we have chicken tikka masala. Let's get on to tea, because tea, what we drink today, and is so engraved in our culture, wasn't actually made here. It came from China, then later India, from imperial trade. Without colonisation, the UK would not have developed its obsession with tea. Fruits like bananas, pineapples, mangoes, oranges were shipped from the other side of the world, but they were shipped here and they became everyday items. So without the empire, these still might be luxury imports, or even never seen. And then there's chocolate. The cocoa bean came from the Americas. It was British colonisation and a bit of other competition from European countries that made chocolate so popular here. So now we're on global trade and economic ties. So we have to understand the British Empire didn't just move goods, it built systems. British ports like Liverpool, London, Bristol, they became key nodes in British trade, became the backbone of the modern British economy. And institutions like the Bank of England weren't just domestic financial bodies, no, they were global powerhouses, regulating currencies, loans, etc., trade even, all tied to the empire. So if the empire never existed, would our lives be as financially comfortable as it is now? Would London even still be a financial capital? Now think about language. The English language is spoken by over 1.5 billion people. It's the global language for diplomacy, media, business, travel, and we know for a fact that that would not have happened without our rule. We're just a little island when you come to think of it. Countries like India, Canada, Australia, Nigeria, they still use English widely or even officially. So even after independence, influence stuck. And it's quite interesting, without the empire, what would the global language be? Would French fill the gap? Would Spanish fill the gap? Arabic, even Mandarin Chinese? We will never know. Let's focus on culture and social influence. Britain's culture didn't just go outward, ideas flowed inward also. The empire brought back stories, art, architecture. We have writers like Rudyard Kipling and Joseph Conrad. These people were shaped by the empire's influence. Painters and architects were all influenced by our empire. They looked at styles and patterns of India, Asia, Africa, etc. And sports too, football, cricket, rugby, tennis, golf, these were all invented in Britain, but it was the empire that made them global. For example, without that global spread, Would Brazil still be a footballing nation? Would India play cricket at all? And we get into schools and universities too. They were established in colonial lands. These systems shaped millions of people's lives, for the better and worse. In some places they remain prestigious legacies, but in others they're symbols of cultural erasure. Let's focus on architecture and urban design. If you today were to walk through modern day Ghana, India, you would notice art design, colonial buildings designed by British planners. It's quite interesting. You have places in India, for example, that literally look nicer than places here. You have these grand British themed buildings, large government halls, post offices, any building. These were all laid down during the empire. But the influence went both ways. British botanical gardens were influenced by other colonies. Parks and estates all look exotic. Why? Colonies. The shapes of cities, roads, it's all from colonies. They gave it to us. But obviously it went both ways. This is another hot topic now also. Cultural and ethnic diversity. The UK became increasingly multicultural. Accents, languages, music, all of it owes such to migration from other colonies. And what's very important to understand is in World War I and World War II, the amount of soldiers from other colonies who fought for us and laid down their lives. The total soldiers, we had 1.5 million Indian soldiers in World War I, 600,000 Canadians, 400,000 Australians, and tens of thousands from the Caribbean and Africa. World War II, again, over 1 million from India, nearly 630,000 Canadians, hundreds of thousands from the West Indies, Africa, etc. Would the Allies have even won both wars? Now it's quite interesting because I focused a lot on the glamour, but it's not all glamour. Nations didn't just receive British ideas, they were shaped often forcefully by British interests. Local economies were restructured to benefit Britain. In Africa, borders were redrawn with little regard for ethnic groups, causing conflict that still happens today. Other languages, cultures were suppressed. Generations were educated to believe British values were superior. That psychological damage, that political damage, economic damage has left deep scars today. Some argue colonisation jump-started modernisation. Others say it stunted organic development, when really both views just really reflect the complexity of the empire. Think of alternate empires. If Britain hadn't built an empire, would other countries have filled that gap, such as the French, the Dutch? They had empires, but maybe they would have filled some lands over their rule. Maybe the Qing dynasty in China, or the Mughal Empire in India, or the Ottomans, maybe they would have got some more land, more global influence. Without Britain's dominance, and I mean dominance for hundreds of years, we might have seen a different balance of power in today's century. Different wars, different alliances, different influence around the world. And this is quite historical now. Race and power structures. Colonialism wasn't just about borders. It reshaped how the world understood power and race. Racial hierarchies were brought into legal systems, even education, even labour. The idea that white Europeans were naturally superior to justify oppression and slavery and inequality. Now, this is all happening across the globe, but we took part in this. Really, it's just the fruits of a powerful empire. This is kind of what comes out of just colonialism, and we fell victim to that. But they didn't all disappear when the empire was collapsed. They linger in global media, economic inequality, communication. Debates around racism in Britain linger today. The big debate of reparations. Should modern day Britons today pay reparations? These are all from the racial inequality that was of the past. But to summarise, why do empires fall? Because no empire lasts forever. And I think that's kind of a fact at this point. We can look back on history and we can see that no empire has lasted forever. So what brings them down? Well, I'd say greed, inability to adapt, resistance, internal division, external pressure. The Roman Empire, the Mongols, the Ottomans, all fell for the same of this mix of this bag of reasons. So too did the British Empire, gradually though, through revolution, war. So here's the question I have for you. Is Britain still falling? Not as a nation, but as a nation still adjusting to its imperial shadow. Brexit, immigration debates, identity crises, all hint at an unresolved legacy. What happens to a country when the sun finally sets, not just on itself, but on the story it's told itself?
So, it's been a month since good old Greg Stone decided that he didn't want to give us money.
Yeah, man. I'm so happy we left the dynamics. You've been a lot more of a chill guy as well.
Well, I mean, to be honest, you were just a lazy worker.
Fair.
So, what do you think we got out of that place anyway?
Well, got our name with the credits.
Great.